Capistrand to set up a line of defense on Everett Avenue. It was the only street wide enough to act as a fire break. The firefighters directed their heavy streams at the oncoming fire, but strong winds deflected the streams. They never reached the flames. The firefighters attempted to mount a defense on Everett Avenue. Before they could get fully set up, the fire leaped 150 feet over their heads and ignited the Emerald Auto Works. Men and apparatus continued to pour into Chelsea. The fire had become too large to direct operations from the ground. The chief used a helicopter to get an overview of the city and direct incoming companies to the most critical areas of the fire. The fire was headed straight for the Williams School. Only the wood frame homes on Vale Street and 4th Street stood in its way. The fire spread through backyards and ignited wood frame porches. Within 12 minutes, every building on Vale Street was totally involved. To avoid being trapped, a Medford company was forced to abandon its engine. Along the railroad tracks, a line of heavy streams was set up to contain the fire. From the start, the water supply was inadequate to feed the master streams. A system of hose lines and fire pumps were set up to relay water from over a mile away. At 5:30, the fire surrounded the Engine 5 fire station. Although there were no apparatus available to put it out, the firefighters refused to abandon the station.
The flames don't seem to go out, you know? Just like the waters on the flames don't seem to do anything.
Rose in a thermal column hundreds of feet high. Fresh air, which the fire needed to sustain itself, was drawn in at ground level, creating 100-mile-an-hour winds. The high winds drove heavy debris through the streets, endangering men and equipment. Flying brands were lifted by the thermal upcurrent. Carried by the wind, they fell behind the firefighting front. Spot fires ignited and spread. Radiated heat became more intense as the fire grew larger. Buildings 100 feet from the fire were preheated until they reached ignition temperature and spontaneously exploded as if filled with dynamite. Lacking a common radio frequency, the mutual aid companies were unable to communicate with each other directly. To improve communications, the chief established command posts in critical sectors of the fire. Men with portable radios stood by to receive commands on Chelsea's own radio channel and relay them to the responding companies. In 120 minutes, the fire had engulfed 18 city blocks. Only in wartime have firefighters experienced such conditions. While a front was maintained at the railroad tracks, the chief ordered a three-pronged defense set up to narrow the spread of the oncoming fire. By sacrificing several blocks, the firefighters were able to mount a defense in front of the Williams School. At 6:30, the chief notified Central Fire Alarm from the helicopter that an all-out stand must be made at the Williams School. It was their last chance to stop the fire. Deputy Capistrand set up a line of heavy stream apparatus in front of the school. While firefighters with hand lines manned the roof, mobile teams of firemen operated behind the school to extinguish burning brands.
During the defense on Arlington Street, many thoughts ran across my mind. At one point, the pumper that was hooked up in front of the auditorium of the Williams School, they wanted to abandon their pump. We had to get a small hose line to lift them down, and you could see the steam coming off their backs. Inside me, I was almost ready to take off down the street with them. I had mixed emotions. There were times I thought that the whole city would be burnt up. My home, all my friends' homes, and so forth. There was also a thought in my mind that this was the time to take my pension and leave the city. But over the years, the city has been good to me and my family, and I thought that this was the day that they were paying me for.
The latest condition report you have right now?
The condition at this time, we have just received a report that the fire has been contained in the Ward 2 area as of this hour. Thank God for the help of all the out-of-town firemen and our own firemen that the fire will be contained.
Within 5 hours, 1,200 men from 111 fire departments had responded to the call for assistance. Once the fire was contained, many worked through the night. Sparks from the still burning rag district were carried by the high winds, igniting spot fires throughout the city. It was 3 days before the fire was finally extinguished. Emergency relief activities were immediately set up by the Red Cross. Donations of food and clothing poured in from surrounding communities to feed and clothe the hundreds who had lost their homes. October 15, 1973. Dear Mr. President, I am requesting that the city of Chelsea immediately be declared a federal disaster area. The city of Chelsea was swept by a fire yesterday which consumed 18 city blocks, including 200 buildings. Over 1,100 people have been left homeless, and 600 left jobless by this disaster. Emergency federal assistance is urgently needed. Francis W. Sargent, Governor, Commonwealth of Massachusetts.
What about your money? We don't have any now. It's gone. You're bankrupt? I wouldn't say that, no, but it's going to be a problem.
Was your home in the area also?
No. No. It's going to be a problem from here on.
What was it like when you came back to your house this morning? Most of the people want to stay in Chelsea, and there's no housing available. Chelsea Housing Authority has no units, so we're trying to send them outside the city. But the people don't want to go to Cambridge or Somerville. They're old and they have friends and relatives in Chelsea. They have jobs in Chelsea. Some of them have been burned out, and they want to stay in Chelsea.
Right after the fire, a lot of people were asked to relocate out of Chelsea, but they just flatly refused to relocate, to other communities that, they were offered housing, and everybody wanted to stay in Chelsea so they could be part of rebuilding, their own neighborhood.
We're more or less all together. We shared our bad, we shared our good.
We shared everything, right. And it means a lot, for a guy to sit down and talk to his kids, and you say, well, what do you feel that we should do? I'm going to talk to you. And they all, more or less, I said to them, I said, I can give you your money, sure, you can go just like the wind. They said, no, Dad, I don't want that.
What did they do?
They all wanted a home. They wanted a home, that's what they wanted. Like we had before.
On May 22nd, 1974, 8 months after the conflagration, another major fire broke out in what was left of the Rag District. 2 city blocks were destroyed. 200 people lost their jobs. Hundreds of thousands of dollars in property were lost. Once again, mutual aid from surrounding communities was necessary to contain the fire. Heavy fuel loading, poor construction, and insufficient water supply present constant fire hazards in Chelsea. Wherever these conditions are allowed to exist, local fire departments, however well equipped, will be forced to rely on outside help. Chelsea's fire department is competent and well equipped, but fire departments cannot protect their communities when fire hazards are neglected by businesses, residents,